Hello, everybody out in the world, especially those listening to us right now.
Good
Welcome
day.
to another Ops Experts Club. Ben, good to have you.
Good to be here. I also didn't realize that you had a band set up in your office.
Yes. Yeah, I'll have them come in towards the end of the meeting.
Who's the featured band for the day?
Yeah, they'll play us out.
That's great.
Yeah. Surprise guest too. And it's not Mumford and Sons.
Oh, somebody, dare we say, better?
Somebody just not Mumford and Sons. Leave it at that. Well, we are here today discussing operations as ops experts here in this space. So last week we had a pretty cool conversation with Joshua Bear of WAG, Wealth Accelerators Global, right?
Yep.
He's a pretty cool guy. What a treat for us.
Yeah, he is a pretty cool guy. I think that's the most I've ever been able to sit down and get out of him. We're always in meetings, so it's always like back and forth, but to be able to sit down and actually just listen to him talk for a bit was actually kind of nice. Get to know the bear, as they call him, a little bit more.
Yeah, it is nice to actually talk with people sometimes about things not having to do with the projects you're trying to complete with them.
Yeah. Didn't we talk about that like a couple of weeks ago too? Like realizing that the people on the other end of your Zoom call are actual people too. It's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
It wasn't excuse me, it was nice to actually hear his backstory a bit too. Like I don't really know, I didn't know that much about Josh, because like I said, I mean, we're always it's always business, and never really good hangout time. But I knew he was in the army, but I didn't really know like the depth of like what, how long he was in the army, how he got out, like what he started, his whole backstory of that ascension to basically the ops man there at WAG. It was really cool, actually. It was nice to hear the human side of the bear.
Mhm. Yeah. That was fun. Definitely a cool background. Different than probably what you'd expect. Somebody who's leading such a large company.
Yep.
But it was really cool to hear. And it's fun to hear about, like, how does a company that's an overseer of all these companies really like keep reaching out and expanding and touching things that are similar to what they're already doing, just taking it that extra step. They're not just jumping out into new areas. Well, they do have a lot of different areas, but within those areas, they're then branching out into auxiliary
I know
businesses.
we were even talking after the call. I was like, it's taken me so long to wrap my head around like not exactly what they do, but why they have all of these ancillary departments and sections of WAG and industries they work in. Like for the longest time, I've been like, okay, you guys are in Amazon, but you're also in trucking. Like, I don't understand. Like, I never got like, and they're doing solar as well. I'm like, I don't understand these sections of the industry. And for him to be able to break down, like, well, I mean, it's smart if you have if you're helping run an Amazon company, that you would also have a distribution arm of that. And if you're working with solar companies, that you also have a arm for sales and an arm for trucking, so that you can get solar equipment to houses for installations. I was like, oh my God, it all makes sense now.
Yeah, it's like when you've some of the physical clients, you've worked, especially in coffee. It's like the cheaper you want things to become, the more you have to like branch out and start doing your own thing, making your own energy drink, making your own products. Once you can start doing that, your costs just dramatically reduce. And so kind of the same concept there, just like, okay, let's stop paying for trucking, let's be trucking.
Yeah, I mean, effectively, it's tale as old as time, but if you cut out the middleman, you cut out a huge portion of your expenses. And then if you become the middleman yourself, then you just make that much more. It's like yeah. After that call, I was like, oh my gosh. I even told Bear, I was like, dude, you guys' company makes so much more sense to me now, just from that like 10 minutes. Like, I get what you guys do, but I never understood really the why. I thought it was just sporadic, and it was like, this was available, so we did this, and this was available, so we did this. Didn't realize there's all this intention behind making yourself the company, but also making yourself the middleman, and also making yourself the customer facing portion of it. I was like, wow, man, you guys are a lot smarter than I thought you were.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's funny what you said there. You start out wanting to cut out the middleman, and then you're like, actually, I could be the middleman. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yep.
the
And
other
then
people
then
still
all of a
want the
sudden
middleman.
it opens up whole avenues for other companies who are in the same industry to come to you when they need a middleman. So it's like, yeah, it's smart. It's win-win on both fronts. And I think they've done a really good job of just sort of like webbing out these different arms of the industry so well. I mean, especially we talk a lot about their solar, the work they're doing in solar right now, and they've done such a great job of basically putting a finger in the door-to-door sales guys, and then the installation guys, and then the distribution guys. Like, they really know how to go into an industry and touch every point of that industry really well so that it profits them. Like, of course you need, 20-year-old kids on the sidewalks going door to door and saying, hey, we sell solar. Like, that's the front facing part of the industry. And then you need people who are actually good at installing and fulfilling on those orders. So it's really impressive to see, actually. And for a company as young as they are and full of, young guys, I mean, on our L10s, when we meet with them, we consistently joke that, Aaron and I are, two of the oldest guys in the room. They're all just young bucks, and they're doing it really smart. It's cool to watch.
Yeah. And it's also mentioning the right people doing the right thing. Like Josh Bear, he doesn't need to know trucking and solar. He just needs to know that the guy he put in charge of trucking knows trucking,
Yep.
and that Josh knows how to solve problems, get things done, manage projects, provide resources, kind of manage everything. As long as he's confident and the person running trucking knows, because I'm sure it's a lot of legality involved
Oh
in a
yeah.
trucking business.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, we sit on their L10s, and it's in depth. We run their leadership L10s with them, where all of these, basically their department heads from all of these industries will come in, and they'll talk about the what's going on in each industry sector, basically. And yeah, it's an in-depth meeting, man. They go over a lot of stuff from even just within each of those. And of course, all those departments have their own L10s that we get to jump in on too. And trucking's a beast. And I think Josh Bear, for as sort of a mellow, low-key guy that he is, like, he carries a lot, because he's basically, he's not running operations for all these organizations, but he has to make sure that all of these organizations operations are running correctly. But then he also has the entirety of WAG on top of that. They have their own employees, they have their own systems in place that he has to keep in check. So he's a smart dude, to say the least.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm sure you've been learning a lot with them.
It's a fascinating industry, again, like, coming from, like, my background of coffee, where it's like, put a liquid in a cup and hand it out a window and there's your cash flow. I'm just like, consistently, my brain is like, how do you guys even come up with this?
Yeah. Well, it'll be fun to hear more about WAG as you keep working with them.
Yeah, they're cool guys. Cool company.
Excited for that. Do you have anything else to share about our interview there?
I would say I'd love to. I think we should do a follow-up sometime in the future, 6 months down the road, see where WAG's at again, and talk about what new industries they're a part of. I think that would be a cool, like, follow up to the original interview.
Yeah, let's definitely do that. Awesome. Well, I got another topic here for you, Ben. We work a lot in CRMs, email marketing.
Yes, sir.
Did you realize that?
I just now realized that, actually.
A lot of what we do can be kind of defined as marketing tech. Is kind of what you'd call that type of work. And a big one we always are struggling with, everybody's struggling with, anybody who does emails, is email marketing, deliverability, making sure your stuff's getting to the inbox, getting open, getting read. You're not over emailing, you're not under emailing, you're emailing the right things, you're not emailing broken links, all that stuff. But one of the things I want to show you, I had a cool meeting with an Infusionsoft account rep this week, and she is able to go over our email deliverability for that account over a
Nice.
30-day period. showing these really cool graphs and what everything means, and just about being proactive about your deliverability and your health and kind of where you've got problems, where you're good. So I wanted to share that with you. Would you accept?
Is this a cool tool?
It's a cool tool. We got some auxiliary cool tools
Auxiliary cool tools.
to showcase too. Right now, it's just a screenshot of our back end. So it's saying delivered 2.3 million emails over the last 30 days. And then it gives us a bunch of cool breakdowns, like average engagement days of our contacts is 9.58 days. So
Is that like it takes that long for them to open an email? Is that what that means?
It's if they open any email, it marks them as engaged.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then it's averaging out like the length of time somebody who opened all of our emails has engaged. So it's about every 9 days. Our
Interesting.
contacts that we're emailing are engaging with us.
Interesting.
But then they showed us this one here, not too great. This is third-party filtering. And this is like in your Gmail account. You get things that automatically go to promotions or they go to spam. So that's what this is. There are different apps that are filtering our messages automatically. 19.92% of them are going straight to a spam or promotions folder.
That makes sense.
Still not in the black, but red's not good.
Yeah. So 20% of your emails, that's a lot of emails that are potentially just not even being seen.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then we've got bounce rate here, and people don't realize there's two numbers that really affect your sending. It's opt-out rates and bounce rates. If you're sending emails that are bouncing, you're going to look more like spam, and the email service providers will mark you as spam, or you'll lose your sending health because your emails are bouncing. You're only going to be marked as a good sender if your emails are being sent. If they're never not being sent, that's bad.
What would I mean? And that bouncing, that could be from any number of things, right? Like a person that's opted out of marketing, you're still emailing them, or you have an wrong, incorrect email address, stuff like that.
Yeah, usually if they've opted out, it just goes into your undelivered count. They won't try to deliver it. Bounced would be usually like you're emailing accounts that have been deleted, typos. If there's a typo in an email.
Gotcha.
Not sure what else it would provide, because everything else should go through. It could be maybe if you mark it as spam in your inbox without actually unsubscribe marking it as a spam, maybe then they bounce too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But fortunately, once an email bounces, the way, depending on how you send your emails, you can usually filter out bounced addresses so that you don't email that address again.
So you don't keep shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah. And then we got a complaint rate here. So showing our worst one with Microsoft being 0.3% of emails being sent there are being kind of like you hit that subscribe and you can give a reason. So that kind of shows you where you need to clean up, because these different service providers will throttle you too. So you can be sending really well to Google emails, but for some reason your Microsoft emails aren't doing too well. And that's because Microsoft email services has deemed your sender health as bad.
Which is primarily Outlook, right? Anybody with an Outlook address, which I mean, who still has those? Holy cow.
Well, I would assume too with that, it probably is, they do GoDaddy, right? So like if you have a GoDaddy domain and you set up your own email exchange, I'm pretty sure that's using Microsoft Exchange.
Yep.
Yeah, so custom email addresses could be in there.
Interesting.
Which mentioning that isn't too surprising now, because this is a company that's kind of sending more business to business. People on the list usually have business emails.
Yep.
Bounce count. Inbox rate. So 94% of them are hitting the inbox, even though some of them are being filtered. So that's still pretty good.
Yeah.
Open rate. I mean, this is that's an insane open rate
That's ridiculously high, right?
for 2.3 million emails.
Jeez, like what is the math on that? I can't do that math in my head.
We'll call it 1 million.
Yeah. 1 million. That sounds about right. Dang.
Click rate, that's about average, I mean, 2% was a good number. Spam trap hits, that's pretty low too. That's going to be like some of the words you use in your emails.
Those trigger words.
Hitting spam traps.
Interesting.
Yep, and then bounce by provider. So you can kind of see more here. Delivery count by provider. You see we've got the most sending on Google, which is pretty typical. You're going to see more emails in Google than not.
I'm actually surprised at how large Verizon Media is in that pie. What the heck?
Yeah. I'm not sure what that means. I'm not sure who they own.
Yeah, they've got, I mean, is that...
Oh, did they buy Yahoo?
That's what I was just saying. Is that Yahoo or AOL? It's got to be Yahoo.
Yeah, because Yahoo's not in here anymore. But now that I think about it, I think somebody bought Yahoo.
Who owns Yahoo? No, it's not Verizon. Oh, it is. Yep, Verizon Media. Yep, purchased in 2019.
Yeah, so I guess I was wondering why Yahoo wasn't on here, but I guess Verizon Media is the new Yahoo.
Interesting. Man, still that many people with Yahoo email addresses.
I know.
Oh, that's great.
Yep, so this is just fun, and I encourage people, like, be proactive with your email sending, because if your numbers get worse, these people can shut you down.
Yep.
Because they're on the hook as a CRM, and they don't want spam people emailing from their account under their name. Yep. So this lady's going to send us a snapshot every month. Let us know any tips and tricks on anything we're looking at here. So based on this, we need to look at some of our Microsoft emails, see if there's any we just need to unsubscribe if they haven't engaged in a while. And we're going to look at some of our engagement triggers and see if we want to kind of sunset people sooner rather than later to kind of get this number down, even though it's still in the good range. The lower this is, the better.
Yeah. And I mean, and how could you, I mean, outside of getting your list healthier, how would you try and get that third party filtering down, or I guess more into the good zone? Is that just on the emails you're sending, cleaning out your list of email contacts that haven't engaged in like 30, 60 or 90 days or something like that?
Yeah, that's a tough one, because once it goes filtered once and the recipient doesn't notice and never opens it, it's always going to go to their filter. But words matter. Okay? And I'll kind of show you, spam trigger words to avoid in 2023. Now, this list is going to be a little bit ridiculous, but it's just letting you know, like, what's going to trigger spam filters more likely, and trying to avoid different words and phrases, especially in your subject line, helps you get out of that third-party filtering.
Yeah, actually, now that you mention it, like anything that hits my like the social section of my Gmail, it's always like LinkedIn. It's always LinkedIn as the sender, or LinkedIn as like the subject. I never see a single email because it just filters straight to that social section. Or the promotions always has like a 50% off, or like a 30% off, or like coupon or whatever. So I just never see those. It's smart. Yeah, subject line is, I mean, that would probably be like your first line of defense, right? To make sure that you're not getting filtered.
Yep.
Make sure you don't have addresses on CD.
Yeah, so there's a lot. Obviously, it's going to be tough if you're a cable converter salesperson. Call me, call now, can't live without, unless it's an email about oxygen. That'd be a tough one to avoid. So there's I mean, Ben and I did a little test with ChatGPT yesterday to see if they could create us an email without using any of these words. It came back and said it could not.
Not possible.
Yeah. So it said it would not even attempt to do that, but it would write us an email trying to avoid the most commonly
Yeah,
spam
which
phrase.
I mean seems like is really the only thing you can, because this list is so long. Like them, I mean, I guess the best thing to do is like try to use as the least amount of these as possible in your. Which I mean, I guess you should probably have a thesaurus up while you're writing that email too.
Yeah.
Join millions.
Limited time.
Oh, that makes sense. I've seen that in so many subject lines in the past. Meet singles. Yes.
MLM. We're just gonna go right out and say it. Join our MLM program.
Oh my gosh, that's great. The funny thing is, like, if you got an email that said multi-level marketing in the subject line, it would probably be a good email telling you not to join some new MLM that's come out and informing you of something bad. It's kind of a backfire.
Yeah. So this little graph I showed you, this is Infusionsoft or Infusionsoft account. So I mean, some of the resources they provided us, it's deliverability video series,
Nice.
using a mail tester. I think we've done this in a previous cool tool, but I do use this one. It checks the spamminess of your emails. It also checks your health. So like if you've got your MX exchange record set up correctly, so that you're sending from approved domains, it's going to check all that stuff.
So would you just send that, like if you're putting together a marketing email inside Infusionsoft, would you just send like a tester to that before you like send it out in a campaign? You just send test to this email address and it populates it for you?
Well, what I don't like about sometimes sending a test is it'll say test on it, and I don't want that to affect it. So I'll actually just add this as a contact and give them a tag. It's like a test email tag, and then send that email just to that one tag. So that way they receive it as if it was really being sent.
That's a great idea.
All right. Yep, link health, sender domain health. So there's another cool tool here I've used a few times. MX Toolbox, and MX is the mail exchange records you'd set up inside domains. So it's just kind of checking health, but this toolbox actually does a lot more. Right now it just says MX lookup, and it's going to say awesome. It's going to show me we used Google Mail, right?
Yep.
It's going to say no DMARC record found, which is pretty typical. That's it. We can solve email deliverability problems. We can do a blacklist check of our domains.
Interesting.
Pretty good. But if you go back up here, it actually gives you an entire drop down of tools. DNS lookup, test email server, reverse lookup, who is, DNS check, DMARC. So it's pretty cool way to. Let's make sure we got a DKIM set up. Let's see what that's an error. Don't give me an error.
Option 1 or option 2?
Too complicated. Let's just do our DNS check. Oops. Oh well. Anyways.
So you would recommend somebody go run through this if they're having basically large or consistent email deliverability problems, or if maybe their CRM has said, hey, sorry, you can't send a broadcast now. And you're like, what the heck?
Yeah. And really this mail tester is a great way to start because it does check those records for you, and it'll say like, whoa, hold up, your DKIM isn't verified. And what that means is you haven't installed a verification code on your domain that allows Infusionsoft to send on your behalf. So that when somebody receives an email from your domain, it's from an authorized sender, because they're not sending the email from your domain. They're sending the email from their IP addresses with your domain listed. And so it looks like it's coming from you, but it's not the same as if you log into your account and send an email. That's going to be a different sending IP.
They're in essence an email middleman, is what
They
you're
are the
saying.
middleman. Yep.
Because you're not going to go into your domain and sit there and send out 30,000 emails one by one yourself. You need a middleman.
Yep. You're not, especially since they're going to shut you down.
Yeah. Yeah. Then haven't we dealt with that in the past where you having sent out too many emails from a Gmail address and it gets flagged and basically shut down?
Yes. Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's really why when you're sending a lot of emails, you have to use a CRM, because these CRMs, they have their own sending IP addresses that they set up. And so they're approved to send mass emails. Your Gmail account is using Google IPs. They're not approving anybody to send mass emails. It's for personal email communication. So I think you can send something like 500 emails in a day. Maybe it's more now. And you'll get flagged over that,
Interesting.
especially if they all have the same subject line.
That says 50% off. This MLM is new. You'll want to check it out. It's free.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
interesting.
so-
So you're kind of forced into using the middleman. So you want your middleman to be basically as healthy as possible.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, so I definitely recommend. I've never done one of these with Active Campaign. I'm not sure if they would. Definitely curious about asking. But usually with the amount you're paying for a CRM, and if you send a lot of emails, you have an account rep. Account rep wants you to stay with them, so they don't want email problems. So they want to be proactive with you and making sure you don't have email problems. Because as soon as you have email problems, you're going to be like, well, I don't like this company, I'm going to switch.
Yep.
So definitely worth checking out with your CRM if this is something they provide for you. Email deliverability health check-in.
And if they don't, then maybe it's possible time to start thinking about a different CRM.
Mhm. Yeah.
Interesting.
And with Infusionsoft, if you're in the green on all of these and you've got really good health, you've been there a while, you've delivered a lot of emails, they'll let you buy a dedicated IP address so that you are the only one using that IP address, because they use shared IP addresses.
And the benefit of that being, if there's somebody who's a giant spammer using the same IP address, it doesn't also knock you. Interesting.
Yep. And they're pre-warmed up. So they basically, once they get IP addresses into the optimum range of deliverability, they hold those, and those are ones they'll sell to people. And then they just keep working IP addresses up. But yeah, somebody who's using the shared IP address can bring you all down.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, if they get into a spam trap, or they get compromised, or they just decide to heck with it and start blasting their list,
Yeah.
then that can bring everybody down.
Man, what a crazy industry of the internet. Like, never would have thought in 1,000 years that there's an industry around warming up IP addresses for people to purchase so that they can email from them. That's crazy.
Yep. And it's like you kind of turning into that digital real estate world of starting to realize, okay, maybe there is like a limit to the number of things we're creating in the digital world. Like,
if you think of IP addresses as house lots, I mean, you can only have so many lots. And if that's a crappy lot, you don't want it. Or if it's a good lot, you're going to pay a lot for it. Interesting. Very interesting way to look at it.
I don't want to pay a lot for a lot.
This is true. I would like to pay a little for a lot.
Yeah. And I'd be curious too to learn more on like if IP addresses also have to do with like the speed of exchange of information on the wireless and wired internet sphere. So they did mention something about they weren't given more IP addresses. So I wonder if there's a certain like IP creation protocol where it limits the number of new IP addresses so that it doesn't exceed the capable bandwidth.
I mean, where does that rabbit hole go down to?
Questions without answers. So if you're listening, I'd be happy to find out.
Yeah, I'm super curious now.
Yeah. Well, Ben, thanks for joining me on that journey. I know it's the conversation entrepreneurs don't want to have. They just want to know if somebody's taking care of it. So we
Yep.
just want to let you know, make sure you're taking care of that before it's too late,
Yep.
because it's going to bite you in the butt when you're in the middle of a challenge and you can no longer email your list.
Or right when you're about to drop your offer and
Yeah.
your fulfillment breaks.
Yep. Yep. Well, awesome day again, Ben. Looking forward to doing this again next week.
I will see you then.
All right.